All right, so this is lesson 1-3, subtracting integers. In the first two lessons, we were talking about the different ways to add integers, but obviously subtraction is a thing too. So what we're going to do is something that you're going to be sick of me singing a lot, but we're going to add a line and change the sign. And really all that means is that we're going to turn our subtraction problem into an addition problem, then change the sign of the number right after the subtraction sign. So we're going to turn all of our subtraction problems into addition problems before we go ahead and do the math to them. Because once we do that, now we just have problems like we had in lesson 1 and lesson 2. So right here, I've got -2 minus -18. Well, I'm going to always just write down the first number, so that's -2, and then I see the subtraction sign. Got to change it to addition. So that's for me adding the line, changing it from a subtraction to addition. So I add a line. Now I'm going to change the sign. It was -18, but I'm changing it to +18. And now that I've done that, it's just like the problem we were doing in the last section where I've got one positive, one negative. I'm going to subtract the numbers. That's 16. And since the 18 is the bigger number, it stays positive. Okay, let's look at another example. So -9 minus -10. I'm going to bring down my -9. I see the subtraction, going to change it to addition. So I add a line. Now I change the sign. It was -10. Now it's +10. Then I just go ahead and do that math problem. -9 plus 10. Oh, that's 1. Another one looking down here. -8 minus 1. So I bring down my -8, and all the first numbers won't always be negative. That's just kind of the way that it worked with these first 3 examples, but I'm still bringing down the first number. So add a line and change the sign, making this a positive or plus sign, and the 1, he didn't have any sign by him. He was positive, so now when I change his sign, he becomes negative. -8 plus -1. That's -9, where I have the situation where they both have the same sign. So I add them and I keep my sign. So there are 6 problems right here, and I'm just going to talk through the first couple and then put the answers down. If you're like, Reedy, I got this, I know what I'm doing, then go ahead and pause the video and do the problems and then check with me when you're done. So 4 minus -3. Even though it doesn't ask us to rewrite it, I'm going to rewrite the expressions and then put the answer both in this box. So I'm going to bring down my 4. I see my subtraction sign. I'm going to add the line, and I'm going to change the sign. It was -3, and now it's going to be a +3. 4 plus 3 is 7. -4 minus 1. I'm going to bring my -4 down. I'm going to change my subtraction into addition, and I'm going to change the sign of that number. This was a +1. Now it's a -1. -4 plus -1 is -5. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Mrs. Reedy, 6 minus 4. I have been doing that forever, since like kindergarten, first grade, whatever, and I know that the answer is 2. Yeah, you're right. It is. And you can just totally put 2 in the box and see those smiley faces and whatever. But if it asks you to rewrite it as an addition problem, you need to know that you just change the subtraction into addition and change the 4 into a -4. I don't really care which way you think about it, because yeah, 6 minus 4 is just 2. And the same thing, 7 minus 3, that's 4. No big deal. And if you're just like, Reedy, I'm just going to subtract, great. That's awesome. You should do that. -6 minus -2 is going to turn into -6 plus 2, or -4. These are the ones that I have to be really careful about myself, the 4 minus 7, because it looks like a problem up above, right? Just a simple subtraction problem. But since the 7 is bigger and it's second, my answer is going to be negative. And sometimes like my brain just doesn't work and it screws this problem up. So 4 comes down. My subtraction sign turns into an addition sign. So I'm taking the extra second to write it out because I know my brain's just going to mess it up. And then this 7 was positive. Now it's negative because I add a line and change the sign. Oh, -3.